The text message arrived at 3:47 a.m., glowing like a warning beacon in the darkness of Maya's bedroom. "I know what you did last summer, and I know you remember now." The sender's name made her blood turn to ice. Sarah Chen, her best friend since childhood, who had died in a car accident 3 months ago. Maya's hands trembled as she stared at the screen, her mind racing through impossible explanations. The funeral flashed before her eyes. The closed casket, the grieving family, the overwhelming scent of lilies that still haunted her dreams. She had delivered the eulogy, had thrown dirt onto the coffin, had watched them lower Sarah into the ground. Yet here was Sarah's number, Sarah's contact photo, Sarah's distinctive way of texting without proper punctuation. Maya's breath caught in her throat as she noticed something else. The message showed as read from Sarah's end, as if someone was watching her reaction in real time. The phone buzzed again. "Don't pretend you don't remember the cabin, Maya. I'm coming home." Maya's apartment suddenly felt suffocating, every shadow seeming to conceal watching eyes. She stumbled to her kitchen, hands shaking as she poured herself a glass of water, trying to rationalize what couldn't be rationalized. Phone numbers could be spoofed, she told herself. Someone was playing a cruel joke, exploiting her grief for their own twisted entertainment. But the mention of the cabin sent chills down her spine. Last summer's trip to Sarah's family retreat had been their final adventure together, a weekend that had ended in confusion and fragmented memories Maya had convinced herself were just alcohol-induced blackouts. They had both agreed never to speak of those 48 hours again. The apartment's heating system kicked in with a mechanical groan, but Maya felt only cold. She moved through her living room like a ghost, checking locks, drawing curtains, her mind spiraling through possibilities. As she reached for her laptop to search for explanations, another message appeared. "Remember the bonfire? Remember what we buried?" The memories Maya had suppressed began clawing their way to the surface like creatures emerging from dark water. The cabin weekend hadn't just been the two of them. There had been others. James, Sarah's ex-boyfriend who'd shown up uninvited. Marcus, who'd brought too much alcohol and too many secrets. And Elena, the quiet girl from their psychology class who'd seemed to know things about people that she shouldn't have known. Maya's reflection in her laptop screen looked hollow, haunted. She remembered fragments now. Elena's tarot cards scattered across the cabin floor. James's drunken confessions about his violent fantasies. Marcus laughing too loudly at things that weren't funny. And Sarah, beautiful, charismatic Sarah, orchestrating it all like a conductor leading a symphony of secrets. The bonfire was Sarah's idea. "Let's burn our confessions," she'd said, producing sheets of paper and pens. "Write down your darkest secret and let the flames cleanse you." Maya remembered writing something, but the words remained frustratingly out of her reach. At 4:15 a.m., Maya found herself standing in her bedroom closet, pulling out a shoebox she hadn't opened in months. Inside, beneath old photographs and ticket stubs, lay a single piece of paper, crumpled and partially burned around the edges. Her own handwriting stared back at her, words she'd tried so hard to forget. "I pushed David down the stairs when we were kids. He went into a coma. Everyone thinks it was an accident, but I was so angry at him for breaking my music box." The confession she'd never meant to write, never meant to share, had somehow survived the bonfire. Maya's legs gave out, and she collapsed onto her bedroom floor, the paper trembling in her hands. David was her younger brother, who'd spent 2 weeks in the hospital after his accident 12 years ago. He'd recovered completely, but the guilt had eaten away at Maya's soul ever since. How did she still have this? She remembered throwing it into the flames, watching Sarah's encouraging smile as the paper purled and burned. The phone rang, startling Maya from her spiral of guilt and confusion. Sarah's name appeared on the caller ID, accompanied by that familiar photo. Sarah laughing at the beach, her dark hair caught in the wind, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Maya's finger hovered over the answer button, her entire world reducing to this impossible moment. "Hello?" Maya whispered, her voice barely audible. Silence stretched across the line, punctuated only by what sounded like breathing. Then, so softly Maya almost thought she'd imagined it. "Maya, it's me." Sarah's voice, unmistakable despite the static and distance. The same voice that had whispered secrets during sleepovers, that had sung off-key in the car, that had delivered the maid of honor speech at Maya's sister's wedding just 6 months ago. "This isn't possible," Maya breathed, tears streaming down her face. "You're dead. I was at your funeral." A pause. Then, "Are you so sure about that? Memory is such a fragile thing, don't you think?" Maya's world tilted as Sarah's words echoed in her mind. The funeral details, so vivid moments before, began to blur and shift like images in disturbed water. Had there really been a closed casket? Maya strained to remember seeing Sarah's body, but found only gaps where certainty should have been. "The cabin," Sarah's voice continued, now carrying an edge Maya had never heard before. "Do you remember what really happened that night, what we all discovered about each other?" Maya's hands shook as fragmented images flashed through her mind. Elena's tarot cards revealing dark truths. James's confession about the missing girl from his hometown. Marcus admitting to the hit and run he'd covered up. And Sarah, beautiful Sarah, orchestrating it all like a conductor leading a symphony of secrets. "You were the therapist," Maya whispered, the realization hitting her like a physical blow. "The psychology student who volunteered to help us process our trauma through confession. You recorded everything." Sarah's laugh was cold, mechanical. "Memory is returning, I see. Good. We have so much to discuss." Maya's apartment felt like a cage as the truth crystallized around her. Sarah hadn't been her best friend since childhood. That was a constructed memory, implanted during what Maya had believed was grief counseling after David's accident. The real Sarah was a graduate student in experimental psychology, studying memory manipulation and trauma response. The cabin weekend had been her thesis project, and Maya and the others had been her unwitting subjects. The phone line crackled with static as Sarah continued. "You volunteered for my research, Maya. You all did. You wanted to forget your guilt, and I gave you new memories to replace the old ones. False friendships, fabricated histories, a lifetime of experiences that never happened." Maya's legs buckled as she sank onto her couch, the familiar furniture suddenly feeling foreign. How many of her memories were real? The childhood adventures with Sarah, the shared secrets, the years of friendship, all of it carefully constructed lies designed to make her compliant, grateful, trusting. "But the experiment is over now," Sarah whispered, "and I need my subjects back." The sound of footsteps in the hallway outside Maya's apartment made her blood freeze. Slow, deliberate steps that stopped directly outside her door. Maya held her breath, clutching the phone as Sarah's voice took on a sing-song quality. "I'm already here, Maya. I've been watching you for weeks, documenting how my memory modifications have held up over time." Maya crept to the window, parting the curtains just enough to peer outside. A figure stood beneath the streetlight across from her building, tall, wearing a dark coat, face obscured by shadows. As Maya watched, the figure raised a hand in a slow, deliberate wave. "The others are coming too. James, Marcus, Elena. They've all started remembering, just like you. But here's the thing about memory, Maya. When you try to erase trauma, you don't destroy it. You just bury it deeper, and eventually it claws its way back to the surface." Maya's blood ran cold as she realized the truth. The confessions at the bonfire hadn't been therapeutic exercises, they'd been evidence. Evidence that Sarah had been collecting for 3 years. Maya's phone buzzed with an incoming text from an unknown number. "Maya, it's Elena. Are you getting the calls too? I remember everything now.
Sarah isn't who we thought she was." Another message followed immediately. "This is James. Something's wrong. My memories are changing. The accident I confessed to, it wasn't an accident. And Sarah was there." Maya's hands trembled as she typed back. "Where are you both? Sarah says you're coming here." Elena's response chilled her. "We never left. We've been in the psychiatric facility for 3 years. The cabin, the confessions, the bonfire, it all happened in group therapy. Sarah was our doctor, and she's been conducting illegal experiments on us." The footsteps in the hallway had stopped. Maya approached her door, pressing her ear against the wood. Silence. Then, so quietly she almost missed it, the sound of a key turning in a lock that wasn't hers. Her neighbor's door, opening across the hall. "Maya?" Sarah's voice called from the hallway, no longer distorted by the phone. "It's time to come home."
Maya's reality shattered completely as she peered through her door's peephole. Sarah stood in the hallway, looking exactly as she had 3 years ago. Not dead, not buried, but very much alive, and holding a syringe filled with clear liquid. Behind her stood 2 orderlies in white uniforms, their faces professionally blank. "You've been having another episode, Maya," Sarah said gently, her voice carrying the practiced calm of someone accustomed to dealing with unstable patients. "The medication helps with the memory fragments, but sometimes the original traumas surface during REM sleep. You've been wandering the halls again." Maya looked around, what she believed was her apartment, the space that had felt so familiar, so safe. Now she saw the institutional furniture, the safety locks on the windows, the medication schedule taped to her refrigerator. Her phone was actually a tablet used for therapy sessions. Her text messages were guided memory exercises designed to help her process repressed trauma. The last thing Maya remembered before the sedative took effect was Sarah's whispered words, "Don't worry, tomorrow you'll remember none of this." The line between memory and reality had dissolved completely, leaving Maya trapped in a psychological maze where every exit led back to the same terrifying question. What parts of our lives are truly our own, and what parts are carefully constructed by those who claim to help us? This twisted story of memory manipulation and psychological control demonstrates how our most trusted relationships can become prisons, and how the mind's desperate attempt to protect itself from trauma can make us vulnerable to those who would exploit our pain. Maya's nightmare raises haunting questions about the nature of identity, the reliability of memory, and the thin line between healing and harm.
What do you think really happened to Maya and her fellow patients? Was Sarah a well-meaning doctor whose experiment went too far, or something far more sinister? Share your theories in the comments below. I love reading your interpretations of these mind-bending psychological thrillers. If this story left you haunted and questioning the nature of your own memories, hit that like button and subscribe for more dark secrets and twisted tales that explore the shadows of the human psyche. Until next time, stay kind, stay sharp, and stay curious.